where is my script, right? Don't get hung up on that between now and next Sunday. Next Sunday, we'll go deeper because you'll be ready for the 20%, right? After you learn the basics. So that's the structure for each, okay? So 50 conversations. Where in the world do the 50 conversations come from? First of all, okay? So I'm going to give you my revised version. Now, again, this is the if I were starting from scratch, right? So I have a little bit of real estate knowledge that you don't have. I have some real world experience that you may not have. There may be folks in this room that have 5 times the experience that I do have, and they have some opinions on this. But if I were starting over and I had to have 50 conversations this week, and I counted last week, I had 57 since last Sunday. I talked to a lot of people. So I counted. So if I had to have 50 new conversations this week, where would they come from? They would come from this mix right here. First of all, my sphere of influence. You've heard it many, many times, but I actually break up my sphere of influence a little differently, right? Your sphere of influence in real estate should be everybody who knows, likes, and trusts you. So the exercise I typically tell new agents to do is go to your cell phone, open it up, look through it, and every single person that lives in your city that knows, likes, and trusts you, write them down on a piece of paper, and that's the beginning of your sphere of influence database, right? I decided I would carve my SOI, my sphere of influence, up a little differently today if I were starting over. The first group I would call my VIPs, very important people, my VIPs. And I'm going to challenge you to come up with 10 VIPs like in the next day or so. Even if you could do it tonight, do it. VIPs. Okay. So what's a VIP? This is someone in my city or in my world, depending how far they live, right? Depending on how much you need to stretch to get to 10, that would literally like do anything to help me, right? So in my world right now, this is my wife, this is my brother, this is a couple of my best friends in this town, this is a couple of ex-coworkers, right? These are the people that would do anything for me. That's what I'm going to start with as my VIPs. Now, you might have a different set of VIPs. Maybe you say, well, Curtis, I don't have as many people. That's not how I think that they'll do anything for me. But I think about these people being really well connected. I think about these people as having really high profile jobs and having great referrals for me. I think about these people as somebody that I really trust that support me, right? Cool. Whoever you think are your VIPs, pick 10, and there's 10 conversations for you this week, right? Might be like 5 or 6 because you won't get them all, but pick 10. And if you can do 20, do 20, right? Just build your VIPs. The next one, this is where I would pick up my phone and I'd open up my text threads. Who's on my text? That is my next list, my SOI. That's where I'd go. So I've got like a basketball coach and I've got a personal coach and I have this person and that person. I have that person and that person, right? I'd go through that and I'd start there. There's my next probably 15, 20 conversations. And if you haven't talked about real estate yet, or you haven't talked about business yet, or you haven't talked about family, occupation, recreation, motivation, all the other things we talk about, that's my next group. And then I'd do everybody else, right? So I'd start over with my SOI. The next one is I'd go to my database. Hopefully you all have a database built. If you don't have a database, ask me during Q&A. I'm going to direct you to a class that takes you an hour to complete, and you'll have the makings or beginnings of your database. Now, these two groups, your SOI and your database, this is probably the bulk of your conversations every week. So if you're asking me how to get to 50 and you haven't started your database or made your SOI list, there's 45 of your conversations, maybe 48, 49, maybe all 50 if you don't have any leads yet. Then your interested leads is that third group. Now, just give me a real answer in the chat if you have one. On average, how many leads are you generating on a monthly basis right now? Just honestly. On average, how many leads are you generating on a monthly basis? So now you have to make a note. Okay, so now you have to make a note. Here's the note. Almost all of my conversations for the next few weeks are going to come from my SOI and my database. Period. That's okay. Now, every conversation with your SOI and database should have a goal of seeing if they have a lead they can refer you. Because you don't have any leads. Should have a goal of helping you identify a lead source. Okay? Because you got to have conversations. You have to have them. I promise you, they know someone who knows someone. They have a friend, they have a referral. But if you're not having these, then you're not even going to start building that database. You're not going to turn over a really good set of leads. But you got to get in the practice of having these conversations. So for those of you that have no leads coming in yet, I'm going to give you another challenge in a moment. So keep in mind that I'm going to challenge you on something else, but you still have to have conversations. Okay. Now, the goals of conversations. So you've now decided you have to have conversations. You don't have any new leads. So all 50 are going to come from your SOI or your database, right? So now what are the goals of conversations, Curtis? Okay, here are the goals. Number one, the goal is just connect people at a minimum. Just connect. Like how long has it been since you called your ex-coworker? How long has it been since you sent a text message to the person who's like 23rd down your text message thread, right? So first goal is just get in action. So I asked earlier at the beginning, like how many of you had hit 50 conversations in the last week? Let me just ask for like an honest number. Just give me the number of conversations you've had by phone, text message, or social media in the last 7 days since last Sunday. Number of conversations. Maybe 6. Good honesty. 20. 5, 20. Cool. 10 to 15. Cool. I want y'all to start counting them. That's part of the tracking progress, right? Okay, cool. So the first goal of your conversations is just to have them. So Lucas, let's go from 5 to 15 next week. Let's go to 20. Rochelle, let's get to 45, right? Just make the connection. It's literally just about making the phone call, just about sending the text message, okay? That's goal number one. Just take the action and make a connection, okay? Now, goal number two, when you really get into conversation, a good one, talking on the phone or a good text message back and forth, you want to think about yourself as being like on a mission. You're trying to discover. You're trying to find out what's going on in their life. You're trying to find out what they're up to, what they know, who they know, what they need, if there's anything you could do to be of value. So the way you build trust and rapport and value is by knowing what's going on in people's lives, okay? So next week, we're going to cover in depth the conversations that I would have with the different types of leads today. So we're going to go into what I call my G2 process. So we're going deep. But you remember this week for those next 5 or 10 or 15 conversations, Solomon, you should be asking questions. And somebody remind me, make a note of this, ask me in the Q&A. I'm going to give you a link to a video I did last week for an agent who was here on Sunday night. I don't know if you're in the house, Jackson. If you are, shout out, man. I'm going to give you all a link to a video I did for Jackson, and it has 5 questions that I ask on cold calls. So I'll give you my 5 questions, but the bottom line is you want to be discovering when you're talking to people. And then here's the last goal of a conversation. Once you have established a relationship, and some people are better at others than this, right? You might have a relationship established in the first like 20 minutes on a call. You're laughing, you're talking, you're relating, right? Or it might take you like weeks or months. Or there might be these lifelong friends that you have a relationship with, your VIPs and your SOI, right? So then your goal of your conversation is to influence them to do something. If you're talking to your mom, it's like, hey, mom, I was getting coached up this week by this guy, this bald guy in an avatar world, but he told me that I needed to have 50 conversations, and he told me that I needed to be generating leads and taking listings, and I haven't done any of that, Mom. Who do you know? Can you help me? Can you talk to some people at work? See if anybody's thinking about buying or selling a house? Will you track down one new name or phone number with me every week, right? Talking to your VIPs, they'll walk through a wall for you, right? So influence. So that's your other goal when you're on these conversations. Now, when you're really talking to a lead, a buyer or seller, my experienced agents will be able to answer this for me in the chat box. What's the goal or the action you're trying to get a buyer or seller to take on the phone or via text message or social media when they are interested and you have a good relationship? What are you trying to get them to do? Trying to set an appointment. You're trying to influence them to meet with you, right? So conversational goals. Now, here's the work. This is going to get you started. For some of you, it might take longer than others. For some of you, this might be light work, but I'm going to tell you how to do it. I think it was Melissa who was asking earlier, like 15 time-blocked hours per week. So I am asking you, telling you, challenging you to time block 15 hours on your calendar between now and next Sunday to do nothing but start conversations, okay? That's what I call an attempt. Start conversations. So it would look something like this to put all these pieces together. You're done with this session tonight. You quickly run through your VIP list. You carve out 10 names. Mom, dad, brother, ex-coworker, coworker, friend that I play sports with, so-and-so, so-and-so's, and so-and-so, so-and-so's. Cool. Got my 10 SOIs, right? My VIP's down. So then tomorrow morning, you're going to get up and you're going to go to your time block time, 3 hours, 9 to 12 in the morning, whatever you choose. And you're going to send 10 text messages. Hey, good morning, Sam. This is Curtis giving you a text. How are you? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. Hey, would love to jump on the phone with you and catch up this week. Do you have time to talk? There's an attempt. You're going to pick up the phone, call. Hey, Mom, it's me. Some crazy guy told me last night that I need to have 50 conversations a week to be successful in real estate to make massive progress in the next 90 days. So I just wanted to kick off my morning with a good morning and see how you're doing and ask you about real estate. I've never asked you, right? Boom. There's attempt number 2, and it turned into a conversation. So you're going to do 15 hours, 150 attempts. If you really do 150 attempts, and let's see what Randy said. So Randy had 71 contacts last week. Randy, would you say, I don't know if you're doing much cold calling or what, did you have about a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio? Like for every 3 attempts in my world, especially if you're going SOI and database, you're probably going to get a conversation had, right? Now, if you're doing a lot of cold calling, your attempts might need to be higher. So Randy's a 4-to-1, everybody. Do you do any cold conversation, lead generation, cold calling? So he does cold calling, right? So cold calling might be like a 5-to-1, a 6-to-1. Randy's really good at a 4-to-1, conversation ratio for dials, right? So 150 attempts, 15 hours. And then what you need is just some basic plan. Now, I'm not going to give you a plan tonight. We only have a short hour, but I'm going to give you a plan next week if you come back. So conversational plan. And in the video that I'm going to give you all, the YouTube video, gives you like the beginning of a plan. It's a few questions to ask. It's a plan in case they say yes or no, etc. So I'll give you all a resource here. So this is the conversations work. True or false, this is doable. True or false in the chat, this is doable. You know how you just kind of know that just like certain things will lead to other things? You can just feel it, right, Richard? You know it. I know this because I've done this for years and years and years. And this is how I would start again. It's just got a few little nuances to it. It's a little different, and I promise it works. So now that you believe it's true, now that you're over the fear that it's too much, now you have to go do the work. Remember, I gave you 10%. The 70% is up to you between now and next Sunday. So let's get to piece number 2. So 50 conversations, gave you a little blueprint. Then I said 2 presentations. And I got a lot of questions in the chat box last week when I said I'd be doing 2 presentations every week. And I do way more than 2 presentations every week. So I know this is valuable and powerful and helpful. So 2 presentations every week. The first question was like, present on what, Curtis? Present to who? Like, what are we talking about? So at first, when you're just trying to build momentum, when you're just trying to practice and get in the habit, doesn't matter who you're presenting to. So I'm not going to tell you who to present to. I hope you're presenting to buyers and sellers all day, every day. But hey, if you're presenting to someone in your VIP list, great. That's good practice. If you're presenting to somebody that you play basketball with at the gym, awesome. Good practice. You might add them to your SOI, right? So instead, I'm going to talk about the types of presentations. Types. There's in-person presentations, there's virtual presentations, and then there's video presentations. And depending on where you're at in your life and your business, with your family, with your, practices, what's going on in your city, your state, your comfort zone, are you an introvert, are you an extrovert? Depending on all those things, you can mix these presentations up any way you want. Just get 2 done every week. If you're in person, I'll tell you my favorite style to do like an in-person presentation. I like to bring them something, right? I'll bring a nice folder. I'll bring some things printed out. I'll bring it there, but I'm not going to give it to them right away. I'm going to hold it. That's their goodie when they leave. And then I like to write out or draw out my presentations literally in person. That's what I like to do when I'm with people. I like to one of my favorite coaches and top realtor at this brokerage for many, many years. His name is Jay Kinder. Jay says people fall in love with the process. People love to be a part of the process. You ever be putting something together and people are just like hanging around like, hey, can I help? Can I turn that wrench, right? Your 5-year-old daughter just wants to be a part of the process. She's just in love with what you're doing and wants to do it with you, right? Buyers and sellers and friends and family members, SOI, they're all the same. They just want to be a part of the process. So when I'm in person, I make people a part of the process. When I'm doing it virtually, I have a slide deck like tonight ready to go. I'm showing my screen, I'm sharing, I'm making it interactive, I'm asking questions in the chat box, right? So virtual is a little different. And then video is a little different. Video can be really efficient. It can be scripted if you want. Videos doesn't have feedback, right? They're not asking questions. You don't have to get them to fall in love with the process. You don't need to make them engage, right? Video is totally different. So those are the three types of presentations. Now, the goals on my presentations, you're like, Curtis, well, what if I don't have a buyer or seller to present to? What am I doing? Well, remember what I called session 2 tonight, practice. Remember, I told you, you're not learning by listening, you're learning by trying and doing. So the first big goal of a presentation for me, whether it's in person or virtual, video is a little bit different, but even video, I have a couple of techniques that I'll share with you all next week in more detail. But the first goal of a presentation to me is to make a connection. Like, I want us to connect. If I sit down with you at a Starbucks or we jump on a Zoom call, I want us to find that curiosity, interest, sympathy, relationship, like that connective tissue, right? And the way that you do that is by actually getting to know the other people, getting them engaged, right? I feel like I know Tracy now because Tracy's been answering questions for me for about 30 minutes. I feel we're connected. I know a little bit about her and I think I can help her, right? And that's the feeling you want to impart to that buyer, to that seller, even to that VIP, right? How much do they know about something you know? How much do they know about something you're learning more about? When was the last time they refinanced their mortgage? Imagine asking that question to somebody in your VIP list and hearing the answer, you know what, Spencer, I have no idea the last time. I don't think I've ever refinanced. I mean, we lived in this house for like 10 years. Well, do you know your interest rate, Kevin? That's a good question. Let me ask my partner. I don't know. Do we know our interest rate, right? Well, did you know that interest rates are ABC? Goodness, no, I really didn't, right? So that's goal number 1 of a presentation, is just making that connection. But again, by discovering, you're asking questions, you're getting to know them. Now, goal number 2 is to build trust, rapport, and credibility by delivering value. So in that example I just gave, that little hypothetical situation, right? You're sitting down in a presentation with one of your VIPs who's not yet a buyer or seller, for example, or maybe they are a buyer or seller, and you're asking all these questions. And every time you ask a question, you get to deliver a little bit of extra value. You get to deliver some knowledge or some information or a friend or a partner, or you get to write something down and you get to help them, or you get to tell them that this is possible. You get to tell them that they can buy a house. You get to tell them about the market, right? You're going to be building trust, rapport, and credibility by delivering information, delivering knowledge, right? They're sitting there listening to you like, wow, I didn't know this. Or if you're bringing them statistics that they didn't have, or they find out that you have relationships, like, oh, do you know a good mortgage lender? Do you know a good this or that, right? So you're building. So building is a big goal for a presentation. And then last one is influence, right? So influence to me is about making them like make decisions, take action. You're trying to get them to do what's best for them, and hopefully it aligns with something that's good for you, right? They decided to become your client. They want to partner with you. Now, typically in order to influence that decision, you have to make an impact. Presentations are great tools for making impact, which is why I formally request that you do presentations beyond just conversations, right? So I'll give you an example of how I trained my wife to do business in her first couple of years. I can tell you she had a really high conversion rate, I think probably higher than the average agent. So when she would have a conversation with a new lead, the goal in the conversation was never, ever, ever to actually talk all about the process, right? I wanted her to do that in the presentation. The goal was really not to dig deep and know everything. I wanted her to do that in the presentation, right? The goal was to influence her to want to move forward through the relationship process with my wife. That was the goal, because I knew in the presentation, then she could influence her to make decisions. I didn't want her to try and influence her to make decisions in the conversations, because those conversations are being had via text message, via Facebook Messenger, via phone. and my wife hasn't spent thousands and thousands of hours on the phone, right? So the goal of that conversation was to get them to the presentation. Then the goal of that presentation was to influence them to make decisions. So now to make them make decisions, you're going to have to create a little bit of emotion. You're going to have to actually help them feel something. So that's the third goal of a presentation, is emotion and impact. So now here's the work. Again, not going deep, not doing it all tonight, giving you the how you can get started. And then when we reconvene in 7 days, you get to ask a little questions. We'll go a little bit deeper. Number one, it's going to take you about an hour or two to create each presentation. Now, once you've spent probably, your first 5 or so buyer presentations, you probably won't have to create it again. You'll just customize it for each buyer. Seller presentation, probably won't have to create it again. You'll just customize it for each seller. But at first, all of these are work. Maybe you're presenting information about your market because you decided to do a video. Maybe you're presenting information about interest rates and mortgage to a couple of your VIPs because you told them you wanted to practice and you promised to buy pizza and some adult beverages if they come over and hang out at your house and let you practice. Cool. That's awesome. It'll take you a couple hours to create each presentation, and then it should never take you more than about an hour to deliver. And I hope you keep it more around 30 to 45-minute mark, but depending on engaging and asking questions and all that good stuff, it'll take you about an hour. Now, again, the reason I'm a huge fan of presentations, if you're sitting here wondering like, Curtis, I'm not sure, I don't know, number one, I can tell you for years and years and years working with buyers and sellers, it demonstrates professionalism. It helps provide a really good flow for buyer appointments and listing appointments to have a prepared presentation. But I believe in presentations for much more than that reason. I think presentations force you to prepare, plan, think, and practice. And that's what doesn't happen a lot in this industry, right? A lot of our professional peers and partners are just out there playing the game, but they're not doing the work behind the scenes. They're not preparing, practicing, polishing, right? They're not presenting. And when you present, I promise you'll get so much better, so much faster. So what do you need for a presentation? The simplest tool you need is a slide deck presentation. And you could go to a tool like Canva and get those for free. You can go to our eXp Marketing Center and get those for free. But again, not going too deep tonight, giving you the 10%. You got to go do the 70. Go get 2 presentations done. And let's come back next Sunday and talk about what you did. And I don't care if they're 5-minute presentations, just get some presentations done, right? Get the practice. So now you have a little bit of a blueprint on how to get some presentation work in. Last but not least, in a short 8 minutes, and this is probably the one where we could spend hours and hours. There's a lot of good training content on videos and social media inside eXp world. I have a lot of friends who do stuff as well that I can recommend. So there's a lot of good content because this is a really hot subject right now, and it should be. If I were starting over and planning like you to be unstoppable in this business, and I wanted to make rapid weekly progress in real estate, I would be at a minimum recording and putting out 5 videos a week. And last week I did 7 because I told you I was going to do some videos, and I committed to doing my own progress trackers. I just started making videos. I make a lot of videos anyways, but I started making videos left and right, putting them everywhere I could put them. That's why I made a custom YouTube video last Monday for an agent who was in here on a Sunday night. I just put it on YouTube. So let me tell you my types of videos, and there's probably hundreds of types of videos, but this is what I would break it down into for real estate purposes. Number one, I'll call the message video. Okay. This is a message from me to you. Hey, Nalia, this is Curtis with eXp. You just visited my website and sent me a quick message via email. Wanted to get back to you and introduce myself briefly. I know that it's late. I do plan to reach out to you tomorrow morning. My call times are from 9 to 12 a.m. So I'll be giving you a call from this number tomorrow morning. Again, just wanted to say hello and happy Sunday. Sorry to bug you on a Sunday night, but I hope we can connect tomorrow morning. Again, Curtis with eXp. Thanks, Nalia. Boom. That's a message video. It lasted 30 seconds, and I texted it to her when she was the lead on my website, right? That's so easy. Imagine sending one of those VIPs a message. Hey, Mom, it's me, your son. I was just thinking of you. Wanted to wish you a happy Monday. I know I don't ask you this often, but someone challenged me last night to make sure you knew I'm actively looking for new clients. So if there's anybody at church or at work that's thinking of buying or selling, will you please jot down their name and number and ask their permission to pass it on to me? All right, Mama, I love you. I'll see you Wednesday for family dinner. Thanks. Bye. Message video. Perfect, right? You can put those anywhere. You can put them out on Facebook. One of the best tips and tricks for talking to other people, to get over that fear of talking on video, is to think like you're talking to one person. So last Monday, when I made that video for a guy named Jackson, who was in this class last Sunday, he was asking me questions, and then he wrote in the chat box, "Hey, Curtis, I can't stick around for Q&A because I've got to tuck the kiddos in. It's late here." And I said, "Oh, well, good night to the kiddos, Jackson. Sorry I can't answer your question, man, but shoot me a message on Workplace and I'll answer it." And I can't do this for everybody always, right? But Jackson shot me a message and he said, "Hey, Curtis, I'm really having trouble breaking through the fear of cold calling." So I recorded a video with Jackson in mind, but I made it general, and that message was for Jackson. And it was like, "Hey, Jackson, here's how I break through the fear of cold calling, man. I've called thousands of people in my career cold, so let me give you my formula, blah, 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 blah." And that's it. I made Jackson a message video. Well, imagine making a video for your sister-in-law who's thinking about buying a home for their family and never bought one, and you just make a video of what you tell her, and you put it on YouTube, or you go Facebook Live. That'd be powerful, I promise. Next type of video, I'll call brand building video. Video for people to get to know you. Period. Your brand is authentically you. Who are you? And you being that you is building your brand. So I would make videos being you, right? And then the last one is the inspired decision or action video. This is probably a tip more for like my experienced agents in the room. And if you're ever watching this video, to my friend Fee Gentry, I love you, and I know I owe you a copy of my videos that I do like this. Not offering to share with anybody else, apologize, but I'll tell you what I do, and I'll encourage you to try it, right? So I helped my wife sell the last couple of years. And even before my wife, I did this for my team all the time and for clients of ours. When I'm looking for someone to take action, like sign an offer or make a decision, what I'll do is I'll do a video of me recording my screen. Remember I said taking them through the process. So for example, I do all my CMAs on my computer screen and I record them, and then I send them to the client. So someone earlier talked about doing their CMAs and getting better. Imagine how much better you'd be if you were recording yourself doing that CMA so you could send it to your client. You would be sharp, right? And I can tell you what that's like. So this is how you do that video. You run the CMA without recording. You run it on your MLS and you're like looking and you're looking and you're looking. And then you run it on RPR also, and you're looking and you're looking and you're comparing. And then you finally decide like, okay, yeah, those are all my comparables. That's the price range. That's the area. That's the geography. Yep. Then you save everything in your MLS, and then you run it again without recording. And you're like, okay, did I get it right? Can I do it again? How many clicks is that? Where's that? Okay, there it is. There's the house. Okay, there's the comparable. Okay, those pictures work. Perfect. This looks good. Okay. Then you write a couple of things down on your paper, and then you record. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer and Seller Client, this is Curtis here. I just wanted to show you the market analysis that I'm going to send you, but I wanted you to have this short 10-minute video as well. And then I share my screen, literally walk them through the market analysis, and I get back to them and say, all right, you've seen everything that I've seen, and I still recommend we go price that listing at $350K. I still recommend we make an offer at $275K. Go ahead and let me know what you think. Same thing when I'm reviewing offers. Instead of reviewing offers over the phone, which I never do after like my first year in real estate, and it was a nightmare like 30 times doing it, right? Now I record offers. I record me going through the paperwork. I answer all the questions they're going to have. It's usually like a 15-minute video. And I say, hey, go ahead and watch the video and give me a call back if you have any questions. So that's an inspiration or decision action type of video. So now the goals of videos. First goal, just get them to watch. If you make a video, get them to watch. That's pretty powerful in and of itself. If you made it and somebody watches it, they'll get your information, they'll get to know you, whatever, right? Next goal, get them to engage or respond. That's even better. Nalia sends me a text. Hey, Curtis, thanks for that video. That was awesome. Loved it. So good to see your face. Appreciate you. Thanks for helping. Mom sends me that video and says, you know what, honey? Absolutely. I'll work on that today. I'll put a sticky note on my cubicle and I'll make sure to ask everybody. I'll bake them cookies. Thanks, Mom. Appreciate you, right? That's even better. Make a YouTube video, get a buyer or seller to respond. There's a friend of mine here in San Antonio. Shout out to Greg Foster. Might be getting these dates wrong, but about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago now, Greg joined eXp, and he was a top selling agent in this market, but he just so happened to get inspired by an agent here at eXp who was really into video. So Greg got really into video, got himself a green screen, started writing scripts, started practicing. I remember Greg probably took like, I bet 3 to 6 months to make his first video. That video now has like 10,000 views on YouTube a year and a half later because it was all about the city of San Antonio. And he's gone on to make many, many videos. He went deep into video. He generates, I think last I heard, was like 4 leads a week off his YouTube channel, right? So if you can get him to engage and respond or take action and connect to you, those are the winning goals, right? But there's your little goals with video. Now, here's what I think it takes. And this is from somebody who's pretty comfortable creating content, but not really experienced in video. It's part of why I've got it on my progress tracker, because I know it has to be a big part of my life. It has to be a big part of your life and your business now. So I would block off about half an hour to about 3 hours to create each video. Okay. Half an hour to 3 hours to create. Now, I don't expect you all to produce your first, 15-minute blockbuster, top of the line video. Just a little message video, but that might still take you 10 or 20 minutes to record the first one you feel okay with, right? Try to record in a couple of takes if you can. Don't do a lot of editing. Like, don't start out with the hard work. Start out with the easy work, right? But it's still going to take you some time. The next thing you need is you're going to need to do some sort of storyboard or outline. And if you're not sure what those words mean, just like Google them. What's a storyboard? A storyboard is kind of a visual layout of what it is you kind of want to do or cover. An outline, think back to writing a paper when you were a kid in school, right? An outline is just, what are you going to talk about? Introduction, body, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, conclusion, right? However practical you want to be, but you need a storyboard or an outline. And then last but not least, you need a script or some talking points. And a script is pretty advanced, but if you don't write one, you'll never write 1,000, right? So you just got to try it. Talking points, much easier, in my opinion. Talking points are like just bullet points of what you're going to say. So they might just be one complete sentence per topic, or they might be a few complete sentences per topic. And you keep those handy, and then you just turn on the camera and go. And make sure, this is the hardest part about video work, and it's hard for me, I'll be super honest with you. The hardest part is sending it somewhere afterwards. Post it on YouTube, text it to that client, push the go live button on Facebook or Instagram, and just get that video out. Once you've got it out, it's out and you're done and it's good. I promise you it will add value. So if you tally this up, if you're doing the math, right? I gave you like 15 hours-ish, maybe a little bit more of conversations dedicated, right? And then I gave you about 10 to 15 hours of video work. So you're at about 25. And then I gave you about 6 hours of presentations, right? So you're at about 30 hours a week right there. And if you do those 3 things, I can tell you, you're going to accelerate relationship development. You're going to be building new relationships. You're going to be generating leads. You're going to be having tons of conversations. You're going to really pick up some traction really quickly. And my commitment to you all over these next 6 weeks is I'm going to do it with you. So I'm going to track my progress. I'm going to have lots of conversations. I'm going to create lots of videos, and I'm going to give lots of presentations. And I'm going to tell you how it's going. Now, my goal, a little different than yours, I'm not trying to build a top real estate business. I'm doing something a little bit different, trying to help people and impact lives in a different way, but still all the same, right? Helping people and impact. So I'm going to go along with you all. All right. Now, that was a lot of information, and it just gets you started. Again, if you heard the rule at the beginning, that was 10% of what you need to do to actually get good at having conversations, get good at presentations, and get good at creating videos. So now you have to go do the 70%, the rest of the work. You have to try it. Now, next week, we're going to do another practice session class where I'm going to go a little bit deeper into each of these things briefly. And then we're going to move into some of the next stuff that we're going to be talking about in these sessions. We're going to talk about taking, giving, finding. We're going to go deeper into each of those sections. So we have a couple more weeks of practice in these classes. And then by the time we get to our 4th week, you should have done some work. You should have some progress trackers. We're going to go with some live role plays, some live Q&A, kind of an interactive workshop on all the topics. And then the last couple of weeks, you're going to be wrapping it up with evaluations and assessments and things like that. So that's what we're going to do for the next 6 weeks. So if you just got here, I invited everybody to come back for a 6-week series about becoming an unstoppable agent, Plan to do this a couple of times a year, and I'm going to really fine tune the content here over the coming weeks with you all. So that concludes tonight's Real Estate 101. I hope you all will come back every Sunday. What I'm going to do for the next little bit before we get to Q&A is I'm going to give you all some resources, okay? So the first resource I'm going to give you one more time is tonight's slide deck. So you'll have that. Then I'm going to direct you into a couple of directions because I want to wrap this class up for those of you that need to leave promptly at the top of the hour. For everybody else, hang tight on the Q&A, and I'll do 15 minutes of Q&A starting at the top of the hour. So real quick, you've got your slide deck there. The next thing I'm going to give you is a link to our calendar. So for those of you that are guests or new to eXp, I want you to know that this class is really just a fun, inspirational, energetic way to kick off your week. We do cover a lot of different topics every single month, but the real training that happens at the eXp University level and all across the states happens Monday through Friday live in eXp World. So if you click on the link to that calendar there, that'll show you everything that's coming up, not just for this week, but for weeks to come live in eXp World. And I just wanted to give you some guidance on your training plan. If you're a newly licensed agent, I would say less than 2 years of experience, jump into our Fast Start training series. Anywhere you can find this live on the calendar, get there. It's intended for you that are at the beginning stages of your career to help you get off to a fast start. Real estate fundamentals is what's covered there. If you're an experienced agent or you've already covered through the Fast Start stuff and you're trying to add productivity tools, you want strategy, you want tactics, you want to go deeper in lead generation, you want to go deeper in lead conversion, deeper in working with buyers, working with sellers, etc., you're looking for the Icon series. These are taught by our top producing Icon agents. For example, on Monday, tomorrow, there is an Icon series class about how to get YouTube leads that convert. There's an Icon series class about scripting, why and how to use scripts. There's an Icon series class about farming on a budget. There's an Icon series class called Listings Beget Listings, right? So if you're trying to add to those skills, your Icon series is where you go. And then last but not least, you look for your Excel series. Your Excel series are going to be outside of the box topics for advanced or agents looking for something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about building teams. We're going to be talking about mindset. We're going to be talking about all kinds of different things. So there's your calendar link. Now, for those of you who can't access the calendar, and you say, Curtis, or not the calendar, I'm sorry, who can't access the live trainings in eXp World, and you say, Curtis, I'm a part-time agent. I'm not available to go to live classes during the work week. I'm going to give you a link to what's called your university guide. So it's a workplace link. And in this workplace link, you'll find all of the different training series that we have recorded available on demand. So it's where all these videos live. It's where you can go watch things afterwards. Everything that we record, usually on about a 2-week turnaround, ends up in this guide. Now, Solomon, I see you asking questions about classes and videos. This link will only be accessible to those that are already active eXp agents. So as soon as you're an active agent, you'll have access to the videos. For special guests that aren't yet active at eXp, you only have access to the live training via eXp World. But as soon as you're active, then you'll have access to Workplace, and therefore you'll have all of the training videos. So those are where you access your training. Now I'm going to give you a couple of other things. On slide number 23, this is the eXp University's featured classes for this upcoming week. So because we have about 60 to 80 hours a week of live training in eXp World, our team goes through every week and selects the trainings they recommend. So these are your recommendations from the team for next week. If you're not sure what to pick, where to go, these are all a great start, again, depending on your experience level. Now, last but not least, on slides number 24 and 25, more great resources for those of you that haven't plugged into a couple of critical starting points. So again, if you're new to the business, your training series that you want to get through first and quickly is called the Fast Start training series. It's basic concepts of real estate. It's 14 hours of training. If you can get through it live, great. If you can't get through it live or get to it live, you can take it through what's called our learning portal. So the learning portal, again, only accessible to eXp agents. And you can take all 14 modules on demand on your own time. Skip around, take the ones you need. You can jump right to lead generation or business planning or lead conversion, whatever it is that you need. So you click there, You log in with your eXp Realty passport and you're off to the races. That's called our learning portal. And each of these links are clickable in your slide deck. Again, why these slide decks are really valuable, because you can click on that link and it'll take you straight to that website. The next question is whether or not you've taken the Grant Cardone sales training. eXp has a unique and amazing partnership with Grant Cardone. Whoops. And didn't mean to click on that here. Has a unique and amazing partnership with Grant Cardone, and our eXp agents get access to one Grant Cardone Sales Training University course every single month, and it is gold. The content is amazing. So you click there, it'll take you straight to the Cardone link. And last but not least, we are to survey time. So I see a couple of folks asking for the link to last week's session. Give me just 1 second and I will get it for you. This is the group you all can join to stay up to date with what's going on here in Real Estate 101. And this is the post from last week. Let me actually just hit you straight to the video link. Melissa, that's a good question. By next Sunday, Melissa, we'll have it. So I'll be able to link to today's replay next Sunday. Don't know that I'll get it done faster this week, but weeks after that, I should be able to get it done within a couple of days. The cold calling YouTube video. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Great question. Let me get you the cold calling YouTube video. All right. Cold calling YouTube video. Okay. Here we go. All right, Sam, now is a great time, as people were asking about videos. If you have that free video editing and social media tool, Sam's going to drop a link there in the chat box. Everybody can check that out. So for making and creating videos and all that good stuff, great tool. Sam, appreciate it. Which one does not work, Brooke? The YouTube link. Okay, let's see here. Wonder why. Try it again. How about that one? Works when I click it. Is anybody else able to open the YouTube link? Does it take you straight to a video called Breakthrough Your Fear of Cold Calling? Works for Anjanette. Okay, cool. Everybody else. Brooke, that's weird. I'll shoot your workplace chat, Brooke. Got you. I'm gonna send it to workplace. Let me know if it comes through there. Hopefully it will. No problem. Awesome. Okay, cool. Okay, everybody. So the last thing before we jump to Q&A here, and for everybody who needs to roll, happy Sunday. Thank you for being here. Love you all. Hope you'll hang out with us for the next 5 weeks after tonight. I look forward to hearing about your progress next week. Hope you'll go back and watch the replay of last week. Hope you'll kick off with some progress trackers from the Unstoppable Agent series that we're creating on the fly week over week. And the last thing that I need from those of you that are still here is if you would please complete a brief survey for me. We do survey all our sessions. Want to do anything we can to improve. Always keeping track of your feedback. Once you complete this brief survey, then we will shift to live Q&A. So the way that this works is it should have popped up on your screen in eXp World. If you're on the phone, don't worry about it. It won't be on your screen. But if you're in eXp World, you have a little pop-up. And the first thing you do is type the name of this class. It was Real Estate 101. And then where it asks who is your instructor or trainer, my name is Curtis, K-I-R-T-U-S, last name Dixon, D-I-X-O-N. And then the only question you have to answer that's mandatory is how likely are you to recommend this class to a friend or colleague on a scale of 1 to 10? And then if you want to provide any additional optional information, just scroll down, answer any of the other questions. And then once you're done, go ahead and hit submit. Once you've hit submit, then that's it. Yep, Kevin, that is great. Thank you. And Kevin is right. There is a link to the survey in the slide deck. You can complete it in the slide deck as well. Once you've hit submit, go ahead and hit close on your screen, and you have completed the survey, and that will allow me to move us to Q&A. So once you're done with the survey, do me a favor and give me your number one question or comment or anything you want to cover just a little bit deeper here. If you did have a question that you asked earlier that didn't get answered, do me a favor and bring that one back here now so that I can do my best to address or answer it. And if there's anything we covered tonight that we need to go deeper on next week or in the next couple of weeks, feel free again to bring that back in the chat box as well. And as long as it fits into what I'm planning to cover in some way, shape, or form, then I will absolutely do my best to address it. All right, I'll just kind of go in order as I see them. Somebody, does eXp offer medical insurance? That is a great question. Yes, eXp has an agent healthcare plan. It is fantastic. I will see if I can get you the information on it. As not yet an eXp agent, it doesn't look like you're active yet. I don't know that you'll be able to access the information about it in a big way. But once you're part of eXp, we have a lot of information inside of the eXp kind of ecosystem. So you just have to be able to log in and then you'll get it. So let me get you some information here. Agent benefits, there we go. But yeah, it might take me a minute to find it here. I'm not quite sure where it talks about it like publicly. It's all kind of inside the eXp ecosystem. So I might have to say, ask the agent that gave you a guest pass and invited you here to get you the basic information about it. But the short answer is yes, and it's very good. Next question I see was a link to the cold calling video. Let me get it for you here. I did share it, but I will gladly share it again. So here's the YouTube video I made for Jackson. Thanks, Melissa. Are the slide decks available as files? How many hours a week of new training do you recommend? So great question, Kevin. So the slide decks are typically not available as files. We do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, we never want to put out something that changes, right? Like the wrong logos and the wrong information and things change. So we do keep them as Google Slide published links. And then the second reason is we want you to be able to access whatever changes we do make in real time, right? So these decks we give away here, easiest way to keep them organized, in my opinion, is kind of bookmark them. Just create like a bookmark folder, call it trainings, then call it like eXp University, and then just add your slide decks in there and name them whatever class it was that you went to or what have you, or create like a little doc yourself. Easiest way. All right, let's see what else we got here. 50 conversations are not real estate related necessarily. So on Hanette or Anjanette, here's the thing about practice and getting started, right? So when you're getting started in anything, quantity over quantity or quantity over quality makes sense because you just need to get yourself into massive action. So in the beginning, if I were coaching you without knowing your experience level, I would tell you 50 conversations, period. Have them with anybody you can at first, right? But then once you can do 50, thank you, Christine. Why did I not have that handy? Appreciate you. Once you can do 50, you know what it feels like, you know how much time it takes you, then you shift to quality, right? You just try to make it better and better. If you can get to a point where you're only having 50 conversations a week with buyer and seller leads, buyers and sellers in your database, oh my goodness, probably going to be setting like 4 to 8 appointments a week, which means you're going to be picking up like 10 to 20 new clients a month, right? So that's where you should aspire to get. But right now, just build the habits it takes, right? So when I call this practice, like I coach youth basketball, and what I always tell my kids is you play the game the way you practice, right? So if you're not in the habit of making 50 conversations a week happen, then you're not going to be at a point ever in your career where you're really able to handle 10, 20, 30 leads a week because you're not used to having 50 conversations, right? So 50 conversations, of course, you can talk real estate, as many of them as you can, I hope, right? But get in the habit of just talking to people. So in one of those fast start classes, for example, I talk about lead generation and lead conversion. I talk about frameworks for talking to your sphere of influence, your VIPs, your mom, your dad, right? Those examples I gave you. And I give you some frameworks called FORM or FORD, right? Old traditional sales conversational frameworks. And the whole goal is to get deeper in relationship. Like in this business, the more people you're in relationship with, the more advocates you have, the more referrals you get. Referrals are the best type of leads. So, cool. Is there a recorded CMA class you can recommend? Lordy, I honestly am not sure if we have, or I'm sure we have, but I'm not sure what I would recommend. Let me do a quick search for you here and see what I find inside our eXp ecosystem. Let me hit the catalog and see what kind of CMAs we got in there. The thing about CMAs, like, let me tell you what I typically recommend. Let me tell you what I typically recommend. Yep. Okay. So this is what I was going to recommend. So here's the thing about CMAs. Because it's a market analysis, right? They're pretty local specific, right? So they're specific to your area, your region, your city. Christine just nailed it where I was going, your MLS, right? So typically, like where I learned to do CMAs early on in my career was from my MLS and from local appraisers that would host market analysis classes. So that's where I recommend you go get your CMA, because a lot of our training is national, right? So we don't train at the university. Like, we're not focused on training exclusively at the state level. Our state teams have a lot of good content. So I would actually ask you to ask that question at the state level as well, and just ask within your workplace group at the state, hey, can anybody recommend a good CMA class? Where would I go? The other thing that I recommend when it comes to CMAs, besides learning from your local MLS and from your local appraisers and experts in your market, is also utilizing a tool like RPR. It's a national tool with, you know, geographic capabilities local to your area. RPR does great CMAs, great CMA training. So I would dive into a tool as well as ask around at your local, in your local MLS and in your eXp workplace state groups. Cool. Yep. Great question. Thank you. All right, let me scroll back up a little bit, see where we're at on Q&A here. I see Sam's dropping some resources there. So Christine dropped a link there. I want to make sure Maria saw the link for the medical insurance, eXp Agent Healthcare. Again, I don't know why I couldn't think of that off the top of my head. Thank you, Christine. So make sure you click on that link, Maria, and you can read more about it. Lucas says, Canva, the other source for making videos, are American. What Canadian video creator do you recommend? Interesting question, Lucas. I personally wouldn't have a Canadian video creator or editor. I wouldn't know. Sorry that I don't know off the top of my head, but I've not had experience doing that myself in Canada, as I'm US based. But I would do a couple of things. I would, number one, ask in workplace and just ask that same question. And then, you know, probably in one of your Canadian groups. And then the other thing that I would do is I would reach out to a creator in your area, or in Canada, for example. So I think one of my favorite ones is named, get him up. Yeah, look up Mike Sherrard. Mike Gerard in Canada is awesome. And, you know, you may or may not connect with him, for example, but, you know, look up creators. And then I would just like ask those questions. Like, so you go watch their video and put a comment. Hey, I really like this. Like, what are you using to create? What did you use early on? What would you use if you were just getting started? For example, right? So sorry, I don't know the answer, but if you shoot me a workplace chat, Lucas, I can't promise I'll be able to get you another answer, but I am starting to get connected to our Canadian team and having different conversations with folks across Canada. So if I ever do get an answer, I'll think of you. All right, Cynthia, take care. You for the 6. Perfect. Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. And I'm sorry, I think I saw that question earlier too and just failed to answer. Somebody asked about like how much time should I spend training? So Kevin asks it differently. If I spend 50 hours a week working, does the 10% rule work? For example, how much new training classroom should you attend? About 5 hours? Great question. I think that's a pretty good like mathematical analysis. I mean, really great, right? So 10% in the classroom and the other 90% out there doing it, getting experience, and, you know, talking to people that are doing it. Perfect, right? What you might be able to add, Kevin, you know, depending on where you're at in your career, et cetera, is if you are getting sort of like mentoring or coaching, or if you have people you look up to, you might call an extra, what did I say, 20%? You might call that extra 10 hours in some weeks an investment in that 20% of learning from another person, right? So whereas you might call this a class you attended for an hour, this last 15 minutes is probably a little bit more like coaching, right? So if you're getting this kind of content, say from some of your favorite YouTubers or from other agents here at the brokerage, or you do jump into a few more classes and they are interactive, right? You might add that into your 20%, for example. But if you're just trying to keep it, mathematically practical, sure, at 10%, I think makes sense. In terms of new training, here's what I say. When you're new to the business, you really don't want to get information overload, right? Because you want to avoid the analysis paralysis that can happen when you're starting anything new. So here's what I recommend for someone new to the business that's immersed in our training opportunities, right? You want to take just enough training to take action in any area you're trying to take action in. So let me give you a for example. What happens sometimes when agents join eXp, for example, is they hear that we have KV Core. KV Core is a really powerful CRM tool. A CRM tool is a really powerful tool to leverage your database. A database is a list of all the people that you know, like, and trust you, your SOI, et cetera, right? If you don't have a database, you probably shouldn't spend a lot of time training on KV Core yet, right? You should take an hour-long class about database fundamentals and then go build your database. And then in a few weeks, after you've worked your database and tried some of the tips and strategies from the class, because you've worked it and you've spent, 10 hours a week on your database for the last 4 weeks, now you can go to a few more KV Core classes, right? So if you take that approach and you take just enough training in the beginning to inspire you to action so you can go to work that other 70% of the time, then usually that's going to keep you pretty light on training in the beginning, right? You're going to get your basics down, probably a little more than 5 hours a week at first, but you might be something like 10 to 20, and then you might whittle it down to 15 to 10, and then you're probably down to 10 to 5. And if you're keeping an active 5 after your first 90 days in the business, you're just going to keep crushing. And if you're doing way more than that, yeah, you're probably over training. Hopefully that's helpful. That was just kind of my example. Cool. Perfect. Love it. I mean, really, I'm glad it clarifies it because, I've said this for all of my career, but I really, truly believe this even more now than I think I ever have. And it's just kind of evolved for me over the last couple of years with watching, I used to train maybe 5-10 agents a quarter, right? And then I got to eXp and it was maybe hundreds and hundreds of agents at different times. But now in the last couple of years, I've really gotten to see a lot of agents kind of come and grow and launch and all this. And I really know that real estate is very much like a sport. You cannot learn it from watching. You cannot learn it from reading. You cannot learn it from listening to it. You absolutely have to do it. Then it starts to make sense. But then once you're doing it, if you can think of your trainers, your teachers, your YouTubers, right? If you can think of them as coaches and mentors, and then you can actually find coaches and mentors over time, you're going to accelerate how quickly you get good at it. But just doing it is what gives you a chance to get good at it, right? So I think a lot now about my youth basketball coaching. I just got to get the kids on the court. That's the only way they get better. And I tell them when they go home, hey, make sure you watch some basketball. Hey, study this. Hey, research this. But that's just the 10%. Then they have to come back to the gym and we got to go play some games, So get in your gym and go play some games, whatever that looks like in real estate. Sure is, Sam. Absolutely right. Cool. All right, team. I think I went just a few minutes over during our Q&A time. I do not see any more questions. Let me give one final call. I don't want to leave anyone hanging. We still got 40 folks in here, so you might need something. But if you do not, I'll make this a wrap. Good night to you, Sam. Good night to everybody. If you have any final questions, again, going once, going twice, put it in the chat box. If not, happy Sunday. Have a wonderful Monday. I will see you back here next Sunday for session 3, building us all into unstoppable agents. My pleasure. Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate you, man. Hope you have a tool by next week because you got some presentations to build, right? All right. Love it. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Good night, India. Good night, Sarah. Thanks, Spencer. Appreciate you, Lourdes. Bye-bye.